Excellent.
Andy,
All right.
you're ready to go, and we're recording already.
Okay. Well, folks, welcome to Konnect to Thrive Mastermind. This week with our guest, Shiraz Baboo, who will speak to us about how to maximize your speaking opportunities. Whether you're speaking in a networking meeting, guesting on a podcast, speaking to educate or sell, being paid to speak, or speaking at a summit, we all need to maximize our speaking opportunities. During this fast-paced mastermind, Shiraz will share and we will expand our approach to getting the most out of these opportunities. Shiraz Baboo is an award-winning author, international speaker, and reality interventionist, and I hope he'll tell us what that is. He coaches people to get out of what he calls reality addiction, and his book, How to Rewrite Reality, has changed lives across the globe. Shiraz helps to annihilate your unconscious addiction to stories of struggle and lack, resulting in an abundance of free time, money, and energy. Please join with me and welcome Shiraz Baboo.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Welcome.
Oh, it's all on me now. Okay. So yeah, thank you. So reality interventionist is a phrase I coined because I found out that people are just addicted to where they are. And as a result, when you try to change that, you can actually go into withdrawal. And most people don't get this. They think, well, once I've started changing and I'm starting to get results, then those results should just keep coming. But if you've ever been to a workshop, gone through a course, and you saw your results change, and then after a while you lost them, that's you going into withdrawal. And until you get this and understand it and know how to deal with it, then oftentimes your results can be short-lived. And one thing most people don't understand is you actually have a default emotion. In Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, he talks about how your body is chemically addicted to an emotional state. So if you're frustrated all the time, you decide you want to be happy, then when you are happy, you don't realize that your cells have actually created receptors for the chemicals associated with the emotion of frustration. And when they stop getting those chemicals, they send a signal up to your brain that says, oh, we're not getting the chemicals, make this person frustrated. You find some reason to be frustrated in your life. You're like, oh my God, I was trying to be happy, but now I'm frustrated. Your cells go, oh, thank God there's the chemicals. And you're back where you started. So you actually have to go through the withdrawal period until your cells physically change to create the receptors for whatever new emotion you want, whether it's happiness, joy, gratitude. And then that becomes your default emotional state. So for me, my cells are addicted to laughter. I laugh every single day. And there's always a reason to laugh. And it doesn't feel like I'm trying to create it. It just always shows up. And I'm happy with this particular addiction. So what I do with people is I see where you're frustrated, whatever that biggest business frustration is in your life, you're actually addicted to it. And I help you to break the addiction. And the reason you're addicted to it, and here's the crazy thing people don't realize, is it's actually all avoidance of another problem. So the big problem you have in your life is actually the solution for another problem you're not seeing. And that solution, that actual problem is always an emotional one. Because your mind is trying to keep you out of the worst possible emotions. And the three biggest are guilt, shame, and heartbreak. Right? And I know this because my personal journey, I used to have rheumatoid arthritis. I got it when I was 22 years old. I was still in university. I was a bodybuilder. I was studying to be a doctor, and everything was looking great for me until the arthritis hit. And within a few months, I was in intense pain in every single joint in my body. There were nights where I sipped my dinner through a straw because my jaw was so swollen and painful I couldn't move it. Yeah, and you may not have gone through a physical problem like this, but have you ever had that situation where you've got your whole life laid out, you've got the plan, and then bam, out of nowhere, that plan is gone, and you're left scrambling? So then you can relate to what I was going through, and I feel for what you went through. And of course, you start going through all this frustration and anger. You can go through despair. You go into self-judgment and self-pity, and you ask questions like, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? What am I supposed to do now? So that's where I was. And I was there for a while until I started to get myself out of it. But I still had to deal with arthritis for about 18 years. I learned to tolerate the pain and get on with my life. And I kept trying to get out of it. So I tried medication. And don't get me started on those childproof caps for arthritic medicine. That's just evil. They should never have invented that. But I tried supplements, I tried diet, I tried acupuncture, I tried yoga. Someone suggested magnets, and I tried all these things. Nothing would work. And it wasn't until I met this man almost 20 years later that I actually changed my perception on how reality itself works. So I went to India, and because it was India, I figured he was going to do some sort of laying of hands on me, and it's like, heal, Shiraz, heal. But that's not what he did. He just talked to me for 2 weeks, and he discovered all this stuff about me. And it was like being with a psychiatrist, only he wasn't trying to solve anything. He was just gathering information. And at the end of the 2 weeks, he goes, Shiraz, you believe you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I said, no, I don't. He said, I know you don't think you do, but you created a belief that you're responsible for everyone. And it started with when you were 8 years old. And I went, okay, I know I'm responsible, but I don't think I'm responsible for everyone. And what's that even got to do with arthritis? He said, oh, you don't want to be responsible for everyone. Yeah. And if you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible for anyone, and you don't have to feel guilty. If people can see that you're just trying to get through the day on your own, they won't ask you to take care of them. It's the solution to the problem you don't realize you have. So I said, well, that's messed up. And he said, but that's what most chronic illnesses are, solutions to problems people don't realize they have. So I said, well, if what you're saying is true, then all I have to do is say I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me, and the arthritis should go away. And he said, yes, if you believe it deep down. So I gathered my will and I said, I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me. And the next morning I woke up, no pain, no inflammation, more mobility, and I could even breathe better. It was crazy. And so I'm freaking out because chronic illness doesn't go away overnight, and yet it did. And when I looked into this, I discovered this isn't just about illness. This is about everything. If you think that if you have lots and lots of money, people are going to come and try to guilt you into giving it to them because they don't have much and you need to take care of the family or you need to invest in their business, then to avoid that possibility of guilt, you'll limit how much money you make. If you want to be speaking on stages, we're talking about speaking, and you're worried that you might be perceived badly, you might think you'll make a fool of yourself, or however people will judge you, and there might be shame involved, then in order to avoid that shame, you will unconsciously make sure you don't get on bigger stages, right? You will get sick the day of you're supposed to be on a bigger stage. That happened to me when I used to do track. I was always sick for the big track meets. I was always okay for the smaller ones. I didn't realize because I was just a teenager what was going on. But now I look back and go, oh, I was afraid I'd come in last in those big track meets, so it's better just to be sick. So that's what I do, and this is what I found out, and it works for everyone, and it works for everything. So that's what a reality interventionist does.
That's very thorough. That's awesome. So, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, by the way. So I actually have reviewed a lot of his stuff. So let's go on this journey. Let's talk about taking advantage of our opportunities. I think one of the things, well, let me spotlight myself so that people watching the replay they may not know my voice. So one of the things, Shiraz, is that I want to explore. It sounds like even in your own journey, there's multiple steps along the way where what I call your zombie brain, which is that part of your brain that protects you from dangers that really exist as well as ones that you perceive in your past, and some of the things that you've shared with us about translating your addiction to the sameness or addiction to your story. I mean, your story of pain. And so one of the questions I have is, so have you overcome that whole rheumatoid arthritis thing? Do you still have pain? Or I'm just curious. I want to hear the rest of the story, so to speak. So,
Okay, so it's actually become interesting because now it is an early warning sign.
mm-hmm.
So whenever something comes up that's causing me guilt or shame, my arthritis kicks in. And so then I have to look at it, figure it out. And as soon as I figure out what I'm doing, it goes away again. And here's the thing about how powerful our minds are and how they affect our body and what's just showing up in our life. The last time I had arthritis, it was intense. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, what I was doing wrong. And I was looking back at my life, and I finally tracked it down to one day I was in the shower, and I was thinking about how I shave in the shower now. It's something I picked up while I had arthritis because I could get the hot water to hit my body and loosen things up while I was shaving and then take my shower and get on with my day. But I just got used to it because I just love the feeling now. But what popped up into my mind is I'm wasting water. And just that thought of guilt about wasting water triggered the arthritis, so I had a reason to shave in the shower. And when I realized I was doing that, I'm like, you know what? No, you're good. This is fine. Like within moments, it just all went away again. But that's it. It just takes that little amount of guilt for things to trigger in your mind and in your life, so you don't get the results you want.
Randy, you had something.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, Shiraz. Would this be considered a psychosomatic illness?
See, this is the thing. Almost all illnesses are psychosomatic. It doesn't mean they're not real.
Right.
My body was ravaged by arthritis. I'm getting mobility back, but I'm still like, this is my movement in my wrist. But it was completely psychosomatic.
That's amazing. And so how do you prevent yourself from letting your guard down, so to speak, or do you not prevent it? You just deal with it when it happens.
Yeah, so I deal with it when it happens. This is the same thing for any situation in life. Is if you're spending more energy trying to keep something from happening,
right,
then nothing happens.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to be speaking on big stages, but you don't want to bomb on big stages,
right,
and you're like, well, you're focused, I got to make sure I don't look like an idiot. I got to make sure I don't mess this up. Then your brain goes, well, the best way to make sure you don't mess up on big stages is to not get on big stages. Right? That's it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
David, back to you. Okay, David, you still there, buddy?
He's talking.
I'm talking to myself. No, I was talking, but anybody else have any other observations, questions? I absolutely kind of now sense where you're going with this. So there's a lot of, now I have a whole list of things myself, but I want to give people a chance. Buddy, why don't you go ahead and weigh in here? Or
well, I want to validate what Shiraz said. My experience and the way I teach it, I don't use the same verbiage that he does, but I've gone through some health issues. I fell and broke both arms in the last 8 years. And within 8 hours of having surgery, I was only taking Tylenol for the pain. And the doctors and the nurses are like, you can take stronger stuff for the pain. And I'm like, no, I don't choose to do that. I can deal with the pain because I refuse to allow the pain to rule my life. And so you do have the mental capacity to focus on the choices you make. And one of the choices can be to empower yourself. And so Shiraz is absolutely correct. I've had rheumatoid arthritis for almost 30 years, and yet I spent a large portion of my professional bowling career dealing with just ignoring it. It never stopped me from competing, never stopped me from winning. Why do I look at it as a debilitating illness? It's not. You have to let it in, or you can conquer it. That's your two choices.
Interesting.
Okay. So Shiraz,
now, you guys make it sound so simple, though. Okay.
It is simple. It is incredibly simple, but it's not easy, because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. but the principle itself is incredibly simple.
Okay, so Shiraz, the topic was maximizing speaking, and I kind of get that because a lot of people, um, and by the way, Buddy is also a member of Speaker Co-op, so of
Oh, cool.
Jeff's organization, just so you know. So he's and he's been a guest on my podcast. So I will definitely talk to you about some of that offline. But so let's take the fundamentals that you kind of in your own story, life experience, the zombie you had to overcome. And again, as I think I got it from Joe Dispenza, but anyway, if we don't focus on our vision for our future, then our history becomes our destiny, something like that. That's what I say, but I don't know if that's what he says, but that was one of the things. We moving forward, allowing your zombie brain or whatever, and not your frontal lobe, to control your direction. So why don't you introduce to us anything? And by the way, if you need to share screen or anything, you can do that as well. But if we're just talking, that's fine. This works as well. We're very flexible. So so take us on that journey a little bit.
Oftentimes when you're trying to create the speaking journey, it's what we're talking about. You're worried about reactions, negative reactions, so you don't do the things you should be doing, right? So doing the offer at the end of a talk is vital. And even if you don't do an offer, you have to do a call to action. You have to tell them to do something, or you've just talked and you may have entertained,
right.
But you want to get them to do something, even if it's to think differently, or if it's to buy your product, or if it's, to whatever it is. And because of this fear of, I don't want to be seen pushy, or I don't want to annoy anyone, you hold back on these things. I was just on a podcast the other day about funnels, and we talked about, well, once you've given the talk, what do? Well, you direct them. A lot of times you direct them to your free downloadable. And then a lot of people, they direct them to the free downloadable, and then they just don't do anything with their clients, right? And I'm like, but you have to start engaging them. And one of like with me, when I have a speaking opportunity, I have places I direct them to. One of them is a free downloadable I do. And when I get them to the free downloadable, when they are on the page to download it, there's also a link to come to one of my webinars. And so about 50% of the people that get the downloadable then go to my webinar. And then from there, they're put into my email sequence. And my email sequence, I actually set it up to get them to want the emails, because I start off with saying, you're on a mailing list, you know it. Like this is just what happened when you downloaded the free downloadable. But here's why you want to stay. And then I say, you're going to get a Wednesday wisdom that's going to give you knowledge every Wednesday. You're going to get a Friday feel good that's going to make you feel good on Friday afternoons. You're going to get what's coming up for the workshops I'm doing, but because you're on the mailing list, you're going to get a discount, which can save you tens, hundreds, or thousands of dollars. And you're also, when I go and I speak on different opportunities, you'll get to have access to all the knowledge of the people I'm speaking with. So it's not just my expertise, but also a lot of them are open to speakers. So now you have opportunities to say, oh, why don't I check if I can speak at that? So now people want to keep getting my emails and getting all that value. And I have a 35% open rate on my emails, at which, most people are down at around 10 or less. So this is just by setting that up whenever I'm speaking, I'm getting so much more value. And a lot of people don't realize that some people get on your email list and they don't do anything for a long time. But I've had people that are on my email list for 2 years that said, I've been receiving the emails and now I'm ready to work with you. So when you're speaking, you've got to get a way to get the audience to connect with you after the talk, not just the talk. You may make sales during the talk, you may make some connections during the talk, but you've got to nurture that relationship. And what we were talking about in the podcast is some people were so annoyed of sending too many emails to people that they either don't send any emails or they don't send enough so that the people aren't still familiar with them. And that fear of being annoying is actually what causes people to not engage with you and then just drop off from your circle. And if you want to maximize what's happening on your speaking gigs, you've got to keep engagement going. But your fear of being annoying or being overwhelming stops that. I have one of my friends, Kimberly Crow, she emails 2-3 times a day to her mailing list, and she has a 50% open rate.
Okay, so I'm sitting here almost blown away in a sense. And what I wrote was, it sounds so simple, then why isn't everyone doing it?
Again, some people don't know, but some people are afraid to.
Why would you be afraid
to
do something that can make you feel better?
Because you're afraid that, okay, here's the multiple reasons. Number one, again, you're afraid of annoying people with too many emails.
Okay.
Number two, you're afraid of getting business, which sounds insane.
Right.
but there are some people who are like, if all these people come on my mailing list, what if I get so much business I can't handle it? So let me just not get a lot of people on my mailing list. Right. I actually had a client last year. It was a fascinating case. She did grief recovery, grief and trauma recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And she coaches people one-on-one because it's very private.
Right.
And she had about 4 people that would sign up each month for her program. I think it was like a $2,000 program. So she was making an okay living.
Right.
But ideally, she wanted about 6 or 7 people. So she's 6 figures. She's helping more people. She's comfortable financially.
Right.
She can never get more than 4. And when we looked into that, we found out that she had this unconscious belief that if she went past 4, it wouldn't be 5 or 6 or 7. It would be 15 or 20 or 30, which would just be completely overwhelming. But she couldn't say no to them because it's about grief and trauma. She'd feel like absolute crap turning these people away. So her mind had said, you can either have overwhelm or you can have shame. Those are your choices if you go past 4. So she made sure she only had 4, and she didn't realize she was doing this. She tried every physical solution, working with coaches, doing promotions. But of course, if the physical solutions worked, that would throw her into overwhelm or shame, so they couldn't work. And when she became aware of what was going on, and we talked about who do you know in your network that can also does what you do, that you could start sending other people to, and maybe even getting affiliate fees. By that afternoon, she had her 5th client for the month, and by the next week, she had her 6th client for the month. And now she consistently gets 6 or 7 every single month. And it was that one belief that was stuck in there that kept her from moving forward and getting everything she wanted.
So essentially, they are self-limiting beliefs.
They're all self-limiting beliefs, yeah. And it just keeps us from acting. And a lot of times we don't even realize. We think, oh, it's just the way it is. Like, she didn't think she was limiting herself. She just thought, the clients aren't signing up. I don't know why the clients aren't signing up.
Interesting. Sorry, I got cat hair. My cat won't leave me alone today.
That's okay. So buddy, did you have something?
Yeah, maybe a different way of wording it, but when I'm working with clients that in that same scenario, what I do is I explore what danger is, and I explore the neurobiology behind the amygdala and why danger is there, and get people to embrace danger as a normal part of existence. And then I show them how to pivot and understand that fear, no matter what it is always self-driven. Therefore, it's an option. If you don't feel something should be fearful, you need to find out why it is creating that sense of danger and eliminate that sense of danger as opposed to the real danger, because you can never remove the real danger. Yes, we all gone on big stages and flopped. I can't name even one speaker who can't say he went on a big stage and looked like a real moron at a time or two, but we're all human, right? We're going to make mistakes. If we don't make mistakes, then all of a sudden we start thinking we can just do whatever we want to do. And all of a sudden something's going to reach up. It's called karma, and it's going to bite you in the butt.
Right.
So yes, the danger is real. But if you can't conquer it and put it in the fear box and then say, not today, I'm not going to let it overcome me, then you have an issue. And I love Shiraz's approach.
Thank you.
Arnie, would you like to have a question or like to weigh in?
An observation. Many years ago, I took a sociology course, and the professor shared with us something that disproportionately afflicts people of color, it's he called it the fear of success. And so as you get closer to becoming successful, there's this tendency to shoot yourself in the foot, you know, and
Yeah.
you see it with athletes sometimes, and professional, you know, people who are on the brink of success. They will do something stupid that disrupts the progress. I was wondering if that kind of ties into what you're talking about.
It absolutely, like you'll hear about like someone's about to hit the major leagues and then they blow out their knee, and it just seems like an unfortunate circumstance. But no, if you get that this is how it all works, then they unconsciously blew out their knee because of that fear of success.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. And this is what happened. I was at a speaker retreat this year, and it was interesting because there was 50 people in the room here learning how to speak and wanting to make an impact from stage. And when they asked for volunteers to come up and do exercises on stage, it was the same 6 people that kept putting up their hands. And guess who was making the most money and had the most success out of the people in the room, right? And I'm like, if you're at a speaking training camp and you're afraid to get up and speak, I mean, that's telling you a lot right there. And I remember there was another one where it was another speaker training. I'm doing a lot of speaker training right now. And the last day they had people in groups, and each group had to go up and present. And one of the groups came up there, and there was a woman up there that I had no idea who she was. She had been there the entire time, but she had kept herself invisible and quiet, so that when she finally had to go up with the group, I'm like, who is that? There's no idea who that is. And it was just this fear of being seen, of messing up, right? And that's what's keeping people from being up there. When you get up there, it's like, well, what do I do? And the craziest thing is you get trained how to present and everything, but through all that, you just want to be you. And I see most people trying to get into the formulas, say it right, and be right about it instead of be them about it. Mm-hmm. And when you're you up on stage, that's when everyone really, really connects with you. And that's when you have the biggest impact. But people are afraid, oh, I have to be like this speaker. I watched this speaker talk. I'm going to mimic their thing because I know they're impactful. But they're impactful because they're just being themselves. So this is it. Like we've been taught you have to try to fit in. You have to be accepted. You have to, make sure everyone likes you. And I found that most people that try to get everyone to like them aren't really liked by a lot of people. But most people that are saying, I'm just going to be me. And if you like it or not, this is what you have to deal with. That's the people that really attract everyone else to them.
So does that kind of give you some Bernie, I'm coming back, put you back up. One of the things that occurs to me, and you said it in preference, obviously from your personal experience in the conference you were in, and I find a lot of things are couched in this is disproportionately for this particular audience or that particular audience, and that always fascinates me because having worked in global corporate things and then moved into ministry for a while, now working with entrepreneurs myself, at every step along the way, there's people that says, well, that works for that demographic. Pick, if you want to do melanin in your skin, if you want to blame it on your sex, if you want to blame it on everything else. The reality of it is, and I would ask, I'm not saying, what I throw out there as a challenge to all of us is we're all afflicted with the things that Shiraz is talking about. But we're all seeking a way to say that doesn't apply to me, or that does apply to me. And that's the thing that I always see in this area. So can Bernie, I know you're very open-minded and you're not saying, okay, this is only my problem. But did what Shiraz say, does that give you kind of a sense?
Yeah. Another way
your mic was still open, so I wanted to give you a chance to.
Yeah. Another way that I relate to what Shiraz is telling us is within my family, I am self-declared as race agnostic.
Amen.
Okay. And That's how I've been forever. I am race agnostic. And, when you mix and mingle with your family, you go to a family reunion and most of them are to some extent racist. It's a problem. It becomes a problem. Um, and there's a documentary movie out right now that it's called Uncle Tom 2. I would strongly recommend it for all of us on this call today. But the term Uncle Tom, and maybe Shiraz would relate to this, is a Black person who has sold out to his white brethren or masters or whatever. That's we behind the scenes we call that person an Uncle Tom. Well, I'm proud of being an Uncle Tom. There's not so
If
much.
if that's the definition, right? I mean,
that's the definition.
right? Yeah.
I'm nowhere near being a sellout to anybody, but by their characterization, I'm an Uncle Tom. So anyhow,
Well, I think that regardless of your past or your skin color, whatever, your culture, wherever you come from, I think it does connect really with what Shiraz is saying, regardless of how you want to illustrate it, in that we all have a history that goes back to maybe even previous generations where our DNA is kind of wired and that fear is there. And the point is, moving forward, at least what I heard from Shiraz was with your own intention. Don Huff joined us a little bit. Don is our graphics expert, visual communications expert. And Don, you had opened your mic. You have anything to share, question?
It was just open when I popped in. I arrived too late, but it sounds like I missed a great conversation.
Well, you haven't missed it yet. We've still got probably another 30 minutes or more of engagement and talking and helping and having Shiraz.
I didn't know what
through.
The subject was.
Yeah, we're talking on maximizing the opportunities you have for speaking. And let me say this.
Oh.
When I read Shiraz's description, he gave me a short synopsis. The write-up that Randy read in the beginning was really my interpretation of that, an application to us. And I was excited to hear his story, which I didn't know coming into this, to hear the roots of where that is, because that is essentially why, in my opinion, why we don't always take advantage. When you're asked to do a 30-second, your 30-second isn't the best way it is because you're afraid you're going to misspeak. You want more people to understand what you're saying than will, and so you get, your cortisol kicks up, your frontal lobe becomes disconnected, you're not thinking, and then that just reinforces the fear. I get the same thing. Randy can attest to this because I'm not picking on him, but when I said, "Hey, I want you to be a guest on my podcast," Randy said, and I said, "Well," he said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, you tell your story and then what your vision is." And he said, "Well, I'm retired and I don't have a story that anybody is going to care about." That's a fear. That's a statement of exactly. That was a statement. By the way, his podcast was great. He does have a story and he has a great vision and he has great value to add. All those things are there, but we come into the thought process that Shiraz is talking about, in my opinion, with all these preconceived notions from our past, from the pain that we experienced, right? And so whether it's, and you're kind of a soft-spoken guy, Don, but you're the same way. You say, well, do I really have anything of value? You got immense value. And you were kind of the same way going into the podcast. But anyway, did you have anything else? Sorry, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just trying to connect the dots here for the folks here before Shiraz takes us a little further down the road. Ricky?
Well, whenever you hear somebody say that they've overcome something because they transformed their mind or they've changed their mind, it sounds shocking, of course, to humans. Because we know people that have gotten addicted to painkillers because they couldn't deal with the pain. as a Christian, you know, I read in the Bible in many places, especially in Romans, how our lives can be transformed by the renewing and changing of our minds. I think people just sometimes are first shocked when they hear something that they've overcome, someone has overcome something that other people can't. But you know, we also realize that scientists say that we only probably use about 10% of our mind's capacity to begin with. And I'm always amazed at my wife, who can just do numbers in her head faster than a calculator. And I can't do that. And she turns around and says, well, how do you magically pick up a guitar and write a song and everything all seems to happen in 5 minutes? I can't do that. So I think that yes, we're shocked, but it is a truth that the mind is a powerful thing and it can change us.
That's awesome. So Shiraz, so help us out. How do we navigate that fear and maximize those results in our, because I realize it's not going to happen overnight. It's oversimplistic, even though your mind controls, right, to just say, okay, I'm going to decide to do this. It could be that simple, but often it's a journey that we have to take one step at a time and start being self-aware. So help us understand that.
Okay, so the thing is, it can't happen overnight. That's the crazy thing. But the reason it doesn't for most people is, if you've ever played Jenga, you can imagine there's the blocks and then other blocks and put sideways and then other blocks, and you create this tower of these blocks. And in the game, you're pulling out blocks trying to make sure the tower doesn't fall. Now, when it comes to the way you're thinking, your belief patterns and everything you're doing, you've got Jenga towers in your mind. And when you decide you want to change something, you're pulling out blocks. Now, you don't know which blocks you're pulling out, but sometimes you pull out that right block and the whole tower falls, and then your whole reality changes. Your attitude changes, your results change, and it's done. And sometimes that can happen, like for me with the arthritis, I pulled out that right block, everything fell apart. But other times you're pulling out blocks and you're starting to get results, but you didn't pull out enough blocks. So if you don't continue doing the work, you start to put the blocks back in because that solid tower feels comfortable and familiar to you, and you end up back where you started, right? And so because you don't know which ones you're doing, you're pulling in, pulling in, pulling. And that's why sometimes you can have a whole bunch of blocks pulled out. You don't know you're in that state. You go to a workshop, they pull out one more block, the tower crumbles, and you say, oh, that workshop is what did it for me. And technically it is, because that's where the block came out, but it's also all this work you're doing up until the workshop. Right. So this is why it's an ever present journey to keep going. Now, the thing is, you have to look at what are you doing or not doing over and over again. What are you saying or over and over again that's keeping you stuck where you are? So I know speakers, I never get the gigs I want. I never get the gigs I want. I keep trying, but I never get the gigs I want. So now you're locked into that story. I never get the gigs I want. Or I do a great talk and no one ever buys. I do a great talk and no one ever buys, right? And so now you're up talking and no one's ever buying because you're stuck in that story. And every time your story plays out, you get to be right. And I've found people will choose being right over being rich, over being successful, over being happy, over being healthy. So you want to get into a place where you're just open to possibility and you're open to being wrong. Because what if you said, oh, you know what, I didn't think I was going to make an extra $1 million this year. I guess I was wrong. Is that so bad? I would welcome being wrong in that capacity. You don't have to be wrong all the time, but just start being wrong. And that's what opens up possibilities when you're speaking. It changes how you show yourself up on stage, because people don't realize if your story is no one ever buys when I talk, you're up there with body language and mannerisms and energy of don't buy from me, because you're going to mess up my story. And that's going to upset me, right? So.
That's great.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll unmute to say that's amazing. And again, I'm sitting here, as I always do, making copious notes. And I just realized that this really is very simple. And I think maybe I'm overkilling it with the amount of notes that I'm writing. I like the Jenga analogy. I really think that's a good one. So I think through my life, my career, I've never had fear or much fear of doing anything wrong. I was always, yeah, let me try it. Let's see what happens, and so I think that contributed to my success. If I thought of something, I said, well, what could possibly go wrong? How bad could it be? So I try it. And the majority of times it went well. So you're reinforcing a lot of my own personal behavior that I never really thought about until you came along. So I think that's pretty cool.
So Karen, since you joined us and didn't have a chance to weigh in, and I'm going to, we've got some, as always, we've got a lot of engagement here, and that's beautiful. I know you caught most of the conversation. What kind of observations, thoughts, clarity? I mean, I know you're in the midst of all your Medicare and all that stuff, and so Karen is one of our insurance professionals, and she's amazing. She's got some of my business, and she's now focused on the Medicare enrollment here in the U.S. But anyway, that's your commercial. I just did it for you, so you don't have to tell us that. But Karen, open your mic. Did you open your? Yeah, you're open. Why don't you see any things that occur to you for Shiraz?
When he said about the like you're limiting yourself on when you're getting out on stage, so you actually stop.
Karen, your microphone, I don't know where it is, but I'm not hearing you. Okay. Oh, that explains it. There we go.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You were kind of like in the next room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's switched over. I'm listening to you guys on the computer. I hate this thing. When you're actually, trying to set up and do seminars, do speaking engagements, and you think you're doing everything right because you're like, this is going to be a great one. I'm doing everything right. I'm being positive about it. And then no one shows up.
Yeah.
It's like, I've paid for the advertising. I've got the marketing dollars from the carriers to pay for the advertising, and no one shows up. So, and I can't find the limiting belief. So do you think it's still there somewhere and I'm just not seeing it?
It's absolutely there. Okay. And first of all, I want to thank you for being here, because I'm used to being in a room full of women, and it's just weird with there's only one woman. I was happy when you showed up. Not that I don't like you guys, but it's
we love Karen too. And yeah, we are not a boys club, but sometimes it just works out that way. And we are sex agnostic too, as to go along with Bernie's. I mean, we serve each other no matter what kind of plumbing you have. So anyway, go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so
Shiraz, tell her what she's dealing with here.
Okay, so okay, let me just ask you this. If people started showing up, how would you feel about that?
I'd feel great. It's like, come on in, because it's like it's more people to talk to.
Yep. And what would your engagement be with those people after you've done that speaking engagement? Like, what is the purpose of them coming?
Well, the purpose of the events now is just to get them to give me permission to contact, because without that little permission to contact form, I can't do anything.
Okay.
So it's a matter of the marketing dollars work to get them there. Now to do the next step, I've got to convince them during that speech to actually be able to, give me their permission to contact. And then I go from there on what they need. So if they need a new plan, or if they just, want somebody just to double check. So, and then I put them in my email list if they give me an email.
Okay.
So
are you worried about them being opposed to giving giving their contact information?
I'm not worried about it. Medicare.gov is. So, and all the carriers.
Okay, so Medicare is worried that they'd be opposed.
Yeah, because it's like we have signed with every carrier that we will not make cold calls,
Okay.
anything to get to them. And so that's, it's not my limiting belief. It's the government thinks that all of a sudden when you turn 65, you check your brain out of your head and you can no longer think.
Okay. So
Is that a nice way of putting it?
Yeah, no, I get that. But let's say you had 20 people show up to your event and then no one signed and gave permission. How does Medicare respond to that?
Depending on which carrier, I have to log in and say I had 20 people showed up, zero permission to contact, and so next year I'll be on the, once again, waiting 5 years to be on their list to approve to send out the flyers for.
Okay. That's where it is right there. That's the problem, because you would rather have 0 people show up and 0 people sign up than 20, 30, 40 people show up and 0 people sign up. Right. So the best way to make sure you don't have those no percentages is to have 0 people in the classroom. That's where the block is. Right. And so and it's scary, because then you have to be willing to have a whole bunch of people show up and not sign up for people to start showing up. That's the scariest part about it, because you have to be willing to go to the worst possible outcome in order to get to the best possible outcome. And most people are like, if this is where you are and this is the best and this is the worst, then people are like, I'm willing to go anywhere from where I am to the best, but I'm only willing to go a little bit towards the worst. But the way your mind works is however much resistance you're putting this way, you're only going to get that much results the other way as well.
Okay.
Right. So my question is, are you willing to have a whole bunch of people sign up and not show up and not sign up? Are you willing to open that possibility? Not saying you have to have it.
Because it's like, at least they're coming into the restaurant or the venue that I'm doing to show that, the marketing is working.
Yeah.
Because what I found out the other day is that the RSVP number is not to me, it's to the carrier.
Yeah.
And when they called the RSVP, they tried to sign them up over the phone. And it's like, you totally defeated the purpose.
Yeah.
They're supposed to come to us, not just the 1-800 get Medicare. They're supposed to. So it's like, okay, it's another tick on that carrier to, why are we still letting them be the marketing arm?
This is it. And like, what I'm saying, some people may get, well, how does her just thinking that way get people to show up? We are powerful beings, and we can actually affect who shows up and who doesn't show up at our events. I had a client that she does an event every year online, and there's usually 3,000 people that show up. And this year she calls me up 2 days before the event. She goes, something's going on because there's only 1,500 people registered. And I said, well, don't most people register right before the event? She goes, I've been doing this event for years. There's supposed to be more people registered by now. We go in 2 days and I need 1,500 people more. And so I said, well, what's different about the event? And she said, I'm hosting it. I said, I thought you hosted it every year. She goes, no, I organize it every year. This is the first time I'm hosting it. And so then that brought up all this stuff. What if I look like an idiot? What if I insult the guests? Or like, what if I forget what I'm supposed to say? All that was bubbling up in her. And so she had, in her power, she had caused people not to register in case she screwed up. And when we got her over that, 2 days later, 8,000 people showed up for this event. And they never had that many people. But now that she was in that space, it was possible. So you absolutely are going to affect everything when you're willing to possibly, maybe screw up, right?
Yeah.
But the intention is always it's going to be amazing, but you're open to the possibility that maybe it won't be.
Buddy, you'd had your hand up, and I put you on. I spotlighted you. Did you have something else or another question, or?
Yeah, the biggest thing is identifying the fear, and Shiraz broke that down so well because he went through each step and he allowed it to get right in the drain, and then he sucked it right down the drain. People are afraid of the unintended consequences, and so they build all these self-limiting beliefs based on how can I remain normal? How can I remain my normal? And so the way you get them to get beyond that is you have to either eliminate the fear or you have to expand the curiosity. Would that be a good way to put it, Shiraz? You have to, hey, how do I know it's going to be bad if I don't get out there and I don't get to it, right? So you increase the curiosity, and all of a sudden, wow, the track shoes go on and away they go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The biggest problem is finding it, right? Because with Karen, she's not afraid to speak. You can tell. She'll go up, she'll do it, she's confident about it. But the fear wasn't in the speaking gig itself, it was what comes after. Right. So sometimes you think, why don't why am I afraid for this to happen? And you're not afraid for that to happen. You're afraid for something else along the line to happen. And your brain is thinking several steps ahead and screwing up what's happening now.
Awesome. So where else should we go, Shiraz, in your thought process? What other things should we consider? Obviously, looking at the entire journey, I mean, a lot of times, we look at things, and I always say there's no failure. It's just either success or learning, and it's a journey and all those things. But help us a little more. I think people don't understand how much the fear of speaking, even if you're not ever having a desire to have somebody pay you to speak or speak to sell. Many of us speak to sell. I mean, if you're in the networking group, you speak to sell. You just don't identify it as such. But anyway, so help us. Any other thoughts?
So just like a very practical thing. When you're creating your talk title, have your audience in the talk title and have the takeaway in the talk title. Some people go for these fancy talk titles and people have no idea what the hell they're going to get out of that. And once you've got those two in, sometimes you can go a step further and add a number. People love numbers. So if you're like, if I call this top 7 ways to maximize your speaking opportunities, that's actually better than maximize your speaking opportunities. Because speaking shows we're talking about speakers, maximizing the opportunity, that's what you're going to get out of it. But people love numbers for some reason. It's something clicks in the brain, and it's odd numbers always. They don't like even numbers. No one knows why, but people will respond better to odd numbers. So that's something you want to do whenever you give a talk. It doesn't matter if you're like a guest on a podcast or doing a talk from stage. This is what clicks you with your audience, and you want the right audience there so you get the maximum benefit of your talk. You're talking, but I think you muted.
Oh, my lips are moving and you can't hear me. Yep. I was muting myself because I had to clear my throat. So anybody else, any areas where you think, because again, the self-limiting beliefs, some of these become cliche, become buzzwords, they become things that we go, okay, yep, okay, he's talking about that, turn it off, I'm on to the next thing. Because anybody else have any questions or observations that haven't weighed in yet? I'm looking to get kind of everybody on board. So if there's something else that we haven't, or you haven't had a chance, Mohammed, are you interested in coming on here?
Yes. Hi. I have one question. I mean, this is also similar to what you said. Is fear of rejection. Sometimes it could be coming from fear of rejection. Is not something that you expect people to not show up, but when you present and they don't sign up, they don't follow the email link, or it could be another challenge that your mind can give, which fear of rejection.
So people are going to reject you. That's just what happens, right? But there's also going to be people that absolutely love you. And again, if you're worried about being rejected, then you're going into that push energy of I have to make sure things don't happen. And then you don't start aligning to the people that aren't going to reject you. There's one thing I've learned with a lot of people speaking, and I've watched this happen, is you're up on stage and there's all these people that love you, but some people that you can see are not getting you and are not enjoying the conversation. And what a lot of speakers tend to do, because there's a fear of rejection, is they focus on those people that aren't getting them. When you've got all these people that are already like, give me more, and now you're ignoring those people, so now you're losing the whole audience. So the way it works the other way is, if you've got all these people that love you and these other people don't like you, then when you focus on the people that love you, that love expands and it can overcome the rejections the other people have. They'll flow in with the rest of the people. So this is it. Look for the people out in the audience that are your allies. And my advice is always, when you're giving a talk, have allies in the room. Ask friends and supporters to come out so that you can get to them and focus on them and get that going. We were just at a thing called Potapalooza, and it was being done online when we were down in Mexico, but there were 4 of us that were all in the same room, and we were all going to go hang out at the pool afterwards, but we're all on our laptops and enjoying the Potapalooza. And one of them was presenting. And so when she was presenting, the rest of us left our laptops to go to the one person that was receiving. So you have her in one room talking, and then all of us on the same computer, huddled up together, waving at her and cheering her on. And she was giggling and she was so happy. And she actually, in the middle of her speech, she just went, "I love you guys," and then had to go on with her speech. And the rest of the audience thought that she was talking to them. Oh my God, she loves us. But she was actually talking to us. But it made her so much happier and impactful to the rest of the audience because she had that support out there. So if you didn't bring them with you, they're always going to be there. There's always going to be people out in the audience that align with you. Find them and watch everything spread across the audience. It's going to happen every single time if you let it.
That's awesome. I wanted, since Thad hasn't been with us before, Thad, I wanted to give you an opportunity to either ask questions or, you know.
I'm trying to remember the name of the organization that teaches people how to overcome their fear of public speaking. What is that? Anybody?
You mean like Toastmasters, or?
Is it Toastmasters?
Yeah.
Toastmasters kind of got their start helping people that really, you know, because giving a toast is kind of can happen anywhere, but it really is targeted at, and that's a lot of what we do. You know, whenever I see people come and networking and stuff. So what was your thought around that?
Oh, me? No, I have friends who have joined that and speak highly of it. It helped them overcome their fear, and they became more comfortable speaking in front of big crowds. Shiraz, do you, aside from your skills as an author and a speaker, do you do one-on-one appointments with people?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Does that keep you pretty busy?
Well, I do one-on-one appointments initially, and then from there, and this is the other thing, when you start to get lots of clients, you want to set this up. You want to have premium clients for one-on-one, but everyone else into group programs, or else you're going to run out of time and you're going to get exhausted.
Right.
So I have a few premium clients in my one-on-one program where I work with you on that biggest problem that you want, and we go until it's fixed, no matter how long that takes.
Yeah.
It usually takes 6 months, but we go until it's fixed. And that's getting you out of the withdrawal, the addiction, everything. And then I have group programs where we just keep working on people each month and they get breakthroughs. And the wonderful thing about group programs for anyone is that when you're working with a person one-on-one in a group program, other people are like, "Oh my God, that's me too. I got that." And so everyone gets the benefit.
Yeah. Hey, if you would, I know your book, it looks like it's over your shoulder there. You might, and I can't see that far, but if you want to put it in chat, the name of it, put the title of it in chat for people like me who can't see very well.
It's called How to Rewrite Reality.
And that's good. Actually, that you kind of led me, that's a great segue, because where we're really at here is I want to make sure Again, Shiraz, thank you for leading us through this part of the agenda. And we're getting into what I call the land the plane portion of our, but I want to make sure that we have any information, programs, books, anything that we can that we're able to follow up. And by the way, as I said, this will be on our Be Connected channel with the show as well as on the YouTube channel. So especially for those, most of the engagement of this, although you guys have been very engaged, this is great. Most of the post is post Mastermind when people come back and watch and go, oh man, I wish I'd have been there. So, but can you kind of tell us that and then share any links? I highly recommend. This won't be a problem going forward, because one of the things when I start bringing Mastermind leaders in, let me get my brain. Shiraz is new names in my brain are rumbling around. Shiraz is going to, we'll have like hot links. So talked about call to action. There'll be a link on the screen when we're doing this that says, here's how you follow up if he's got a book, if he's got this, if he's got that, when we bring him in. So that'll make this easier. But for today, since we're on Zoom, is if you can post hot links, I assume you know how to do that in the chats. And then if somebody's interested, just click on those links. And if you can tell us now, Shiraz, what you're posting or what you want us to look at and how we can serve you.
Okay. See how this lined up. Okay, so there we go. So if you would like a personal one-on-one breakthrough session with me, that's the first link. If you want to attend my free webinars that I do the second Monday of each month, they're an hour, one at 1 and one at 8 Eastern. And then there's the link to the book, How to Rewrite Reality.
Perfect.
So it's, yeah. And in the workshop, I talk about the principles of igniting your success, and then I work with a couple of people right in the session so you can see how quickly things can change for people.
All right, Don, your mic is open. Did you have something else?
I wanted to discuss with Shiraz Superman versus Batman. I think we have a problem.
So it's funny because I've had the Superman bookshelf for a long time, but when I do my talks, I didn't do it today, but when I talk about going through the arthritis, I say, I had to go through a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
and so I put him up there just so I could make that reference.
There's a little Batman up there too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why Batman's there. And that's why I thought you would talk about that.
Yeah.
Batman I prefer over Superman, even though I've got the Superman bookshelf.
I've got lots of Superman and Batman stuff. It's not up right now, so you can't see it. But all this stuff you're talking about, I'm very familiar with the limiting beliefs. I work on a lot with my men's group, and you'd certainly be invited to join us. And I'd love to hear more about how you're working. I'm sure that it shows up really quickly when you're standing in front of a crowd trying to talk intelligently. It's when my fears, I know I've worked a lot on my self-limiting beliefs, and it's turned me into an extrovert from an introvert after just 15 years.
Yeah, like I said, it's simple, but if it was easy, everyone would be doing it really quickly, really powerfully. So yeah, it's all about the journey.
So Don, you're saying you were an overnight 15-year success, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. Well, thanks. That's good. And what we're talking about here is definitely something that we all deal with in one form or another. So that's great. So again, let's give Shiraz a hand again, virtual hand here. I really appreciate you sharing with us, and you've got his breakthrough session, you've got his group, and also free webinar, whatever that he does, and also the link to the book. So click on those as we talk about. You click on those before we leave, and they'll be resident in your browser, and you can take action on those. As we always say, we hear a lot of good stuff. I mean, I've heard things I'm familiar with. Like I said, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know, when working on my book and the Vision Challenge and all that stuff that I was doing, did a lot of research on other people that people recommended, and Dr. Joe came up, and you know, it's he's got some great books and great resources that you can find. So, but again, thank you, Shiraz. Appreciate you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. For those, as I said, that weren't here early on, next Friday's Mastermind, you're definitely going to want to make a point to be here. If you're a regular member or participant in RPNetworkers, and even if you're not, and you need to invite other people, because next Friday, our Mastermind, the entire 90 minutes, is going to be focused on implementing and integrating the Be Connected platform into your networking business. And so I'm going to do some training. You're going to ask questions. I'm going to talk about where you can do this, talk about better ways to do things that you're already doing. And we're going to talk, and we'll be on the Meetin platform next week. So don't just go to the link that you have for this Zoom, Zoom registration. Look in the meetup. I'll also be sending out an email with the new link to that event next Friday. So make sure you're doing that. Next Wednesday is our regular networking group. For again, everybody in our group, get ready. Things are going to change. I know it's scary. I know you failed before in adopting new technology, just like Shiraz was saying. I mean, there's all kinds of those barriers that will hold you back. But I want to make sure you all, I can do anything I can. And if that doesn't work, there'll be recordings, there'll be other stuff, and hopefully it'll be give you a big step function in going forward. But you first got next Wednesday, and for the guys, remember our monthly men's breakfast is on the second Saturday now instead of the first. We've moved everything to the second. So anyway, any other announcements?
Yeah, all I can tell you is that next Wednesday, you better keep your line open, because you know that you're going to screw me up, and I'm going to be running around trying to figure out, what did he say last week? How are we going to get on this thing?
Yeah, Randy. Well, we won't be doing the Meetin product on Wednesday, because we're gonna start. You know, we're gonna crawl, walk, run.
Good.
In this group, you guys are more hands-on. You're focused on learning and stuff. So, anyway, so
Randy, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love the meet.
Of course I will. I've been in the training sessions already, so.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
So watch my videos. I've been doing them on Facebook, so that way you can see it.
You got to start sending the links out, though.
It's on my Facebook page. Come on.
I don't go to Facebook pages. Okay.
And the thing is,
send me the link.
By the way, we are officially adjourned, except for if anybody has anything to say. So I'm going to lose last 3 minutes of your most valuable asset. I want you to. Did we lose Shiraz? Looks like. Okay.
Oh,
no,
just
there
moved spots.
I'm sorry. I put it on grid view and then I lost you. Okay. Right. So, but anyway, if you have any other questions for Shiraz or anything else, it's now wide open. So.
Well, I just want to say, you know, my expectations were not high, only because I really didn't know what it was going to be about, but you exceeded my expectations by orders of magnitude.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other thoughts? Thad, how about you? How did you find your first experience here? Where exactly are you, by the way? What part of the?
I'm in Frisco.
Oh, okay. So you're not far away. We're,
Yeah.
Richardson Plano Networkers. We have a number of people from Frisco.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
all over
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, this is my first rodeo with this group, and
Oh, good. We'll hope we come back.
very, very interesting. And I'm sure I will be back at
Good.
some point. I just
Every
never
week
know.
it's a different thing, you know?
Right. Yep. Look forward to hearing more good information like what we had today.
Great.
It's always good. We have very and it's a great group of people that shows up every week. So, anything else? Anybody got?
Well,
Chris, this was your
Bernie,
first meeting.
Yeah, no,
Mastermind.
no, this is, I mean, this goes along with something actually I heard yesterday in my Toastmasters group. One of the ladies that won the international speaking competition a decade ago or whatever, she had died, and it was kind of in memoriam of her, but I heard a story. Her name was Lashunda Rundles, and she had lupus. She died of lupus. But when she was on the stage speaking, she didn't feel any pain or anything, but before and after, so that just kind of shows the mind right there. Like her sisters were at that kind of memoriam, and they were talking about how they didn't think she could even go on stage because she was feeling really bad. And then she went on stage and she didn't feel any pain. So definitely the mind can play a huge play a huge impact in your physical maladies and whatnot. Very informative. Great speech. Or great talk.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. That's beautiful. And by the way, the three. I mean, we always want to be grateful. So again, thank you, Shiraz. Thank you, everybody here, for sharing your most valuable asset, which is the time you invested in this. You should never, as I always say, should never spend your time, and for sure you don't want to waste your time. You should always consider this time as an investment. And that's why each of you I've asked to kind of weigh in, because I wanted us to get, make sure you have an opportunity to get a return on that investment. But just know that everybody that's here, I'm very grateful for you. I'm grateful that you've invested this time, and Shiraz, I'm very grateful that you connected with us in this community. I did send you, I mentioned Be Connected. I did send you a link that's actually Jeff Klein's referral link, because he's the one who referred you to me. I would encourage you to sign up like Buddy did. He got off. He was our mastermind lead a few weeks back, and just get your free account. I think it would serve a number of things that you're doing, and Jeff is just coming up to speed, but I wanted to give him the credit for the referral. So
great.
If you, and I will be doing that, by the way. This is kind of precursor to next week. For those that are participating in this mastermind or participating in the community, this isn't a, hey, you're competing against me, let's see who can refer people the quickest kind of thing. This is, I'm going to be saying, if you're the person that recommended the person to the group, we have, three recommendations or referrals. If you're the person, then I'm going to send them. If you're registered, even as a free member, I'm going to, you can decide if you want to ever upgrade, but as long as you're the one that brought the person to the party, then I'll be, wherever I can, I'll be adding your group, your website, your link, your referral link. So anyway, just so you know. And Thad, if you're interested in any of this, feel free just to reach out to me. Actually, I usually do this. I apologize. I'm going to I'm going to put a link here for scheduling a convenient time on your calendars. If you want to connect with me one-on-one, I run my life by divine appointment. Therefore, that means that if you say, I want to get on your calendar, and this is the best way to do it, I will do it. And I don't use pro bono like Randy does, but I never engage for money first. When I retired, 17 years ago, the end of this month, The retirement for me was just flipping the switch from having an impact first. If money flows, it's a beautiful thing, versus make money and then take a portion of that and go to things that I wanted to impact. So retirement is not doing nothing, as those of you who worked with me know, right, Randy?
I just wanted to one final comment, Shiraz, and that's when I did your introduction and then you came on and you talked for, I think, all of 2 minutes and stopped. I'm saying to myself, oh my God, what are we going to do now? And I was, David knows me. I really don't panic, but I was starting to panic today. I just said, yep, nope, God will take over. This will work out. And I just shut up. Best thing I ever did was shut up. I really enjoyed it, Shiraz.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I know the feeling. I hosted a summit a few weeks back, and I had one guest, and he had a 25-minute spot, and two 3-word sentences the whole time, and I'm just like pulling and pulling to get through 25 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's very, very important that you introduced a ton of stuff in our conversation that we all need to visit. And again, the mind is a powerful thing. It's not like, okay, you think it, the secret is only part of the equation.
Right.
Let's put it that way. Just saying, speaking your desires, speaking your thing, it does require work, and that work requires overcoming your zombie brain or your self-limiting beliefs or whatever you want, the fears that Shiraz was talking about. So it's beautiful and powerful, and it can manifest in many different ways, as he was talking about, as illness. I'm dealing with a thing with my hip, and I can tell you, I can attest to the fact when I'm positive and I'm thinking forward and I'm looking at the future and I'm not focused on any of the pain goes away. How's that happen? Well, the things Shiraz is talking about, it's there's something in there that there may be physical root cause to a little bit, but it's as much here as it is anywhere else.
And I can also say that I believe that my cat, who you've probably noticed, has sat through this entire thing. He never does that. So he must have enjoyed you as well.
I get that all the time because animals are attracted to energy. So whenever I'm on a workshop panel discussion thing, everyone's cats just start showing up on the...
Oh, that's cool. That is really awesome.
Well, if you're a woman, I'd say you're a cat lady, but but yeah, and I can relate. I mean, it's funny because when you start talking about the things of the mind, things of the heart, the women are often more tuned into that and have less barriers. I don't think I'm saying anything most of the guys wouldn't nod their heads on, is they're much more willing to embrace those inner feelings that are limiting our motion forward. We guys are kind of tough, right? We think that we don't have limiting beliefs. We're just suck it up, buttercup, let's go.
Amen.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we're past the time, so yeah, go ahead, Shiraz.
I just want to throw in, Bernie, there is a event on Monday called Voices of Color, and I think you might be a really good speaker for that. You won't be able to get in this one, but they'll be doing another one. And this is something you also get your family to watch, because they're going to talk about, getting out of that space to become color agnostic. Some of the talks are going to be on that. So.
Yeah, we're really doing any demographic, in my opinion, a disservice, and I mean like millennials versus boomers like me. I'm not isolating it to anything. I say we really do service if you set your expectations of them or their ability to do something based upon any of those things.
Right.
Whether it's you perceive that they need you to do something, or you perceive, because then that's kind of the bigotry of low expectation, right? You don't expect them to understand. So I think you've got to go forward, and I loved what Shiraz said about authenticity. Be you. You be you. I love it when you be you, and if you and I can and I can be me, and we can have a conversation about where we are. And I use the ladder of inference. I use other things to talk about that, because we all get so high up in our addiction. I like the addiction, by the way, addiction to our perceived reality, which actually our perceived reality for most of us is not in our vision for the future. It's really more in our experience from the past. And so that quote reality is your history. And a thing is, we need a new story. We need a story that takes us forward, and we need to be addicted to that. And I don't know what I've never read your book, Shiraz, so if I'm saying something contrary or complimentary or in line, either way, I believe that when you triggered a lot of things in my brain today about things that sometimes we forget, we blow past, we get focused forward sometimes. That's the thing on my podcast. The warriors all want to talk about where they're going with that, which is cool. That's warrior behavior. But they've all overcome zombies. We just don't like to focus on those. And that's okay, because those aren't what it should inspire you. They should be a foundation, but the future is what you're looking for. So I love it. I love it. I love the conversation today. Appreciate everybody participating. And as I said, please make a point to be here next week. I'm going to be really devastated, and I have all kinds of fears about doing all this work to educate you guys and do a mastermind next week, and nobody's going to show up. Just like Karen. I'm just like Karen. So
what do we do if nobody shows up?
No, I'm